We have a massive Mitch Marner trade update to discuss today as GM Brad Treliving has come out and revealed what his plans are this offseason for trading the superstar. So I'll break down those comments on this episode, as well as a new report that is circulated revealing who the frontrunners are to land Mitch Marner over the coming days or weeks. So I'm going to break that down in this episode. But before we do, if you're a part of the large percentage who aren't subscribed, make sure to hit that button. We are on the road to 11,000 subscribers, and it mean the world to Darius and myself. But Darius, a lot of stuff came out yesterday and some more stuff today regarding Mitch Marner, and Brad Treliving finally broke the silence regarding what potential trade could be happening for the Stars. So let's just get right into it. Leafs GM Brad Treliving, he declined to comment on his future in Toronto in the interview yesterday, but referenced Marner quite a bit, saying he's a star, he knows how we feel about him as a player, and it's also more likely that the Leafs will stick and pick at draft 20 or number 23 in the draft. So there's a few things to go over here, and if you actually watch the interview, he didn't give direct info. Well, he actually did a little bit regarding Mitch Marner, but didn't say, obviously, I'm going to trade Mitch Marner. We're going to keep Mitch Marner.
Right.
Darius, what are your thoughts on this? We'll get into the other comments in a second, but he kept mentioning Mitch Marner and referring to him as a star for this team. And that makes sense because he's currently on the roster, obviously.
Yeah, and he is a star, right? And he would be a star anywhere else. The one thing I didn't hear Brad Treliving say is Mitch Marner or re-signing Mitch Marner is a priority of ours, right? I didn't hear any of that. So a lot of the language that was used yesterday leads me to believe that they are exploring trade routes for Mitch Marner and that they will try to offload this player this offseason or like soon, like in the next couple of days, because July 1st is just a few days away. So I do believe that they're probably going to end up trading this player. A lot of people think that it's too hard and it's not going to happen. A lot of the language that was used here, it just leads me to believe that they want to. Obviously, it could just not happen, right? Because obviously they have to find a suitable trade partner. Marner has to say yes. There's a lot of roadblocks, right? But I think that they are trying to trade him. There's a big difference between the two. So I think that they want to offload this player and move on. They want to use the salary cap for something else, and we could see it in the next couple of days. But a lot to read into from something where Brad Treliving didn't come out and say, we are moving this player, right? Obviously. So, but I think there was a couple tidbits in there that you can, he's using different language from what he used with Matthews and Nylander, for example.
Yeah, he didn't commit to extending him. He didn't say he's going to be a part of the future in Toronto. He did obviously acknowledge the obvious that he is a star. And there's a few different things here. So Brad Treliving and how he manages all the Mitch Marner rumors. I'd caution us to not pay too much attention to some of the noise. We can't react to all the noise. And Mitch knows how I feel about him as a player, which, yeah, fair enough. I mean, it makes sense. Everyone knows that Mitch Marner is a very good player. It's just about whether or not he's going to fit in Toronto. And again, they asked him again on the Mitch Marner speculation. I didn't see what was reported today. I'm sure there will be more reports tomorrow. I can't get wrapped up in the noise. So Darius, he keeps saying that he can't get wrapped up in the noise. But like you mentioned, there is no concrete statement where he says, even hints one way towards him returning to the Toronto Maple Leafs, or even that we're working with Mitch Marner's camp to potentially finalize a contract or anything like that. It seems like by reading between the lines here, there's so many, obviously there's challenges we'll get into in a second, but everything is kind of pointing to the fact that Brad Treliving not necessarily wants to move Mitch Marner, but it seems like that's the direction they're going. And if you actually watch the interview, that seems to be the vibe around the team.
Yeah, I don't think he can come out and say in an interview like that, we're going to move on from this player. Like, it has to be kept private in a way because obviously the player has to agree to it. Like, they have to get a trade done on paper and then the player has to agree to it and all those other intangibles, right? So he's not going to come out yesterday and say, we're trading this player for these assets or whatever. It's just not going to happen. But if you read in between the lines, like you said, or what he didn't say this player is a part of our future. Our priority is to extend this player by this date. He didn't say any of that. He just said, he's a great player. He's a star. He knows how we feel about him, right? So there was really no talk of in the future. If you remember to the Nylander thing last year, right? There was a lot of talk of, this is a priority. We want to get this done in season. We don't want to wait till next to the offseason till now, right? There was a lot of talk of priority, and it just doesn't seem like Mitch Marner staying at Toronto Maple Leaf seems like a priority based on the language they're using. So I think I think that they're trying to move him, and in the case that they can't, they don't want to say anything right now that'll really, add more gas to the flames. So it's smart on Brad Treliving's part, but I think they're trying to move him at the end of the day. I really do.
And Frank Saravalli came out again this morning or yesterday and doubled down on the fact that he's very confident that they're doing everything in their power to move on from Mitch Marner. And let's dive into a few things here. So obviously, this is from Evan. He says Maple Leafs running into challenges and exploring a Mitch Marner trade, obviously due to the no move clause, due to the potential of him leaving the team that he gets traded to and all these different contract scenarios. You can see here, according to these two people. The club is already getting a sense of how difficult making a deal with the 27-year-old will be through trade calls. One in particular seems to be the lack of teams that Marner could conceivably accept a trade to, and like I just mentioned, the cap hit as well, and willing to send back a significant amount of pieces. And the Leafs are obviously ideally looking for an impact defenseman, so there's a lot of different stuff regarding that to discuss here. But it's interesting. So David did say that there's 4 teams that Marner could go for, but Dairus, I want to pop this up now. We'll discuss this, and we'll probably have another video on some of the other things here. So this was from I Am Hockey 1. Now take this with a huge grain of salt. He is not necessarily a reporter. Has he gotten things right in the past? Yes, he has gotten things right in the past, but he's confident. He's saying, although there have been conflicting reports, I am confident that Marner will be traded to the Golden Knights with Theodore, Logan Thompson going back to the Leafs for Mitch Marner. Now, this got a ton of traction. Again, take it with a grain of salt. We're not saying this is fact. We're going to discuss it, though, because we saw a trade package similar to this a few weeks ago or a couple weeks ago, and it's a very interesting one. We discussed it on our stream. What are your thoughts on this, Dairus? This is again, we'll see if he ends up being right, and if it is true, it kind of changes everything for the Leafs. You're getting a goalie, you're getting an elite defenseman, and maybe a pick. Because it obviously says Theodore Thompson plus. What are your thoughts on that? Maybe that's the move that the Leafs are working on right now.
Like you said, at this point, that is just a rumor. We don't know for sure. But the reason why it makes so much sense for me, that trade itself, is you get a #1 defenseman in Shea Theodore. And I'll get to the Vegas side in a second, right? You get a #1 defenseman in Shea Theodore. You fix your goaltending problem by adding Logan Thompson, who would be a great second option for Joseph Woll, right? Like, this is a guy who really showed his worth over the last couple seasons. And then on the other side, I think Mitch Marner would accept a trade to Vegas. Like, who doesn't want to live in Vegas, right? I think he'd be really open to that. Most people would be. Obviously, there's been talk the last couple months and weeks of the income tax in different states and stuff like that. So it could be appealing for Mitch Marner. And then on Vegas' side, I could see it makes sense for both teams with the salary, and for Vegas, I could see them being in on Mitch Marner. Vegas is in on like everybody, right? The last couple of years, and Mitch Marner is an elite player, and they have a really good team around them that has proven that they could go far in the playoffs. So I could see them being in on Mitch Marner, right? It's interesting. I could see it making sense. I don't know if it's going to happen. It is a rumor at this point, but it makes sense, and I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and he's very confident. So it's gonna be very interesting to see if this guy ends up being, I guess, truthful or not in his reporting. And again, take it with a grain of salt. We're not saying it's gonna happen, but there's just a lot of different reports going down. And I think you mentioned it. Like, you get a very good defenseman, you get a goalie, and we know that they did swing for the fences for Jacob Markstrom, so they are trying to make an upgrade to the goalie and potentially the trade avenue. So this could make a ton of sense. And now that they missed out on Markstrom, they said, okay, Vegas's package makes a lot more sense for us now. So let's go look for Logan Thompson. Let's go look for Shea Theodore, and then maybe get a first-round pick back. Now, if you're getting a first-round pick along this or alongside Theodore and Thompson, you're really coming out good if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think it would probably be maybe a second or third-round pick. But yeah, any final thoughts before I wrap up? Tons of rumors, tons of circulation. We should be coming to a close, hopefully, over the next couple of weeks with the draft and free agency really starting to ramp up here soon.
Yeah, I think the next couple of days we're probably going to get an answer. The signing bonus thing is another factor, right? We're probably going to have to wait for July 1st. But I think on paper, logically, you know what you have with this team the way they are right now. If you were to run it back next year, I think the majority of the fan base would not be happy. Not that, you have to do what the fans want all the time, but I think we can all see that this team is not built correctly, and you have to move salary out. The odd man out is Mitch Marner at this point. And a trade like that makes sense, right? You're getting things back that you really, really need to help the team. So it makes sense to me. I kind of like that trade. And I think at the end of the day, Mitch Marner, I like what Brad Treliving has been doing to manage it as well. And I think at the end of the day, Mitch Marner, for the betterment of the Toronto Maple Leafs, might have to move on.
Yeah, let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on that trade, and would you do it if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs? Let us know down below. Thank you guys for watching. See you soon.